Ever wonder why men aren't approaching women like they used to? It's not just about fear or frustration. In today's world, a combination of societal changes, personal challenges, and new dynamics have made men think twice before making a move. If you've ever found yourself asking why guys don't approach as often anymore, then stick around, because I'm about to break down the top 10 reasons, and trust me, some of these might surprise you. Let's dive into the heart of why men are no longer approaching women. I'll break it down into 10 reasons, each building on the last to give you a complete understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. This isn't just about fear or frustration. It's about a shift in the way men are thinking, behaving, and prioritizing their lives. And ladies, if you're listening, I'll also give you some insights on how you can encourage more approaches if that's something you're looking for. Reason number 1. Fear of rejection. Let's start with what might be the most obvious reason, fear of rejection. But don't mistake the simplicity of the term for the simplicity of the emotion. Rejection, especially in a public setting, can feel like a direct attack on a man's ego and self-worth. You might not realize this, but even the most confident guy can feel a sting when he's turned down. It's like being punched in the gut, only no one can see the bruise. For some men, that bruise can take days, weeks, or even longer to heal. Now, imagine this scenario. A guy is sitting in a coffee shop and he sees a woman he finds attractive. He's thought about going up to her and starting a conversation, but as soon as the thought crosses his mind, another thought immediately follows. What if she says no? What if everyone around hears it? What if I'm humiliated in front of everyone? That fear of public embarrassment stops him before he even gets out of his chair. It's paralyzing. And while some men might push through and take the chance, many won't. They're too afraid of what that rejection says about them. Does it confirm their worst fears? That they aren't good enough? That they aren't attractive or interesting enough? Rejection is painful for everyone, but it cuts men deeply because they're often expected to be the initiators. And if a man has been rejected a few times in the past, it can build up in his mind as a negative cycle. Why would this time be any different? So he avoids the situation altogether. But here's the thing, ladies, and I want you to hear me out on this. Kindness costs nothing. If a man approaches you and you aren't interested, you can let him down gently without crushing his spirit. It's not about leading him on, it's about showing some empathy. A simple, kind rejection doesn't send mixed signals. It simply acknowledges that he had the courage to try. For the men, I want to tell you this: rejection doesn't define you. It's a part of life, and each time you face it, you grow stronger and more resilient. Reason number 2, unrealistic expectations. Let's move to the second reason, unrealistic expectations. We live in a world that is more connected than ever before, but ironically, it's also a world where people feel more isolated and more pressured to present themselves as perfect. Men, just like women, feel the weight of those societal standards. They've been conditioned to believe that any interaction they have with a woman has to be perfect from the start. Everything has to be flawless. The conversation, the body language, the chemistry, everything needs to align perfectly, like some Hollywood rom-com. But here's the reality. Life isn't a movie. It's messy, unpredictable, and full of imperfections. Men need to let go of this idea that every approach must lead to success. The pressure to meet these impossibly high standards can be paralyzing, and so instead of risking failure, they opt out altogether. Why? Because they've been told, either directly or indirectly, that anything less than perfect isn't good enough. Imagine a guy who sees a woman he wants to approach, but in his mind, he's already rehearsing every possible outcome. He's thinking about the perfect opening line, how she'll respond, and how the conversation should flow. But the moment he senses that it might not go according to plan, he freezes. Why? Because he's terrified of falling short of this imaginary standard. And in his mind, it's not just about rejection, it's about failure on a deeper level. Ladies, you might not even realize it, but many men are dealing with this mental block. They're so caught up in the ideal that they forget to be genuine, to be themselves. This is where a shift in thinking needs to happen. Men, you don't need to be perfect. Approaching someone is about connection, not performance. Stop thinking that every interaction has to lead to a romantic relationship or that you have to say the exact right thing. Sometimes just showing up and being yourself is more than enough. Reason number 3, busy lifestyles and priorities. Let's keep going with another important reason, busy lifestyles. In today's world, we're all busy. Everyone's grinding. For many men, the focus has shifted away from dating and toward career, personal growth, and hobbies. They're building their lives, and that doesn't always leave room for the uncertainties of dating. You can't blame them for that. Now, think about this. A young professional man is focused on climbing the corporate ladder. He's working late nights, hitting the gym in the mornings, and constantly striving to improve himself. When he's done with work, the last thing he wants to do is roll the dice at a bar or social event, hoping to meet someone. The stakes feel too high, and the payoff is uncertain. It's easier, and let's be real, sometimes more satisfying to focus on self-improvement. Men are setting goals for themselves that don't necessarily include romance, and that's okay. But here's the issue. Many women still expect men to make the first move, to put themselves out there. It's a mismatch in priorities. Ladies, if you're interested in attracting a man who's got his life together, you need to understand that he's likely to be busy. He's building something. And if you want to be a part of that, you need to be ready to add value to his life, not stress. Ask yourself, can I support this man's goals? Can I be a source of encouragement and not another obstacle for him to overcome? Men, on the flip side, you need to realize that relationships can be a source of fulfillment, not a distraction. If you've built a strong foundation for yourself, it's worth making the time to connect with someone who can enhance your life. Reason number 4, economic pressures. This brings me to the next reason, economic pressures. Finances can weigh heavily on a man's mind. We've all heard the saying, money can't buy love, but try telling that to a guy who's drowning in student loans or barely making ends meet. The pressure to be financially stable before entering a relationship is real, and it can be a significant deterrent. Let me paint a picture for you. A man is struggling to pay his bills, or maybe he's in between jobs. He wants to date, but in the back of his mind, he's constantly thinking, how can I provide stability in a relationship when I can barely manage my own life? The idea of approaching a woman when he feels financially insecure is terrifying. He might even think, I'm not good enough until I've made it. I'll wait until I'm more established. Now, let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel secure before entering a relationship. But the problem arises when men tie their entire self-worth to their bank accounts. Money doesn't define who you are or the value you can bring to someone's life. And ladies, this is where understanding comes in. If a man is in his building the kingdom phase, he's going to need your emotional support, not pressure. Men, you don't need to have a mansion or a 6-figure income to be worthy of love. Sure, financial stability is important, but it's not the only factor that makes you a good partner. Focus on building yourself up emotionally and mentally alongside your financial goals. Women appreciate a man who has ambition, but what they truly value is how you treat them, how you make them feel. Reason number 5, changing gender dynamics. Let's shift to a reason that's a bit more complex. Changing gender dynamics. Over the last few decades, the roles in dating and relationships have evolved. Women are more independent, more career-focused, and more financially empowered than ever before. This is fantastic progress, but it's also created some confusion for men who were raised with more traditional views of courtship. Here's the challenge. Men are uncertain about how to navigate these new dynamics. In the past, it was clear a man would ask a woman out, he'd pay for dinner, and he'd take the lead in the relationship. But now some men fear that these gestures might be interpreted as outdated or worse, as condescending.